Hello and welcome to this week's discussion. I'm Carmen, your Divine Synergist of Heart's Joy. Thank you all so much for joining live and on the podcast as well. I empower you to understand why you're here and how to live on purpose and in divine harmony. I interweave numerology, angel guides, astrology, theta healing, and coaching to guide you along your journey. And every week we have a discussion, and this week's discussion is 3 action steps you can take right now. If you have a question, you're joining us live, be sure to drop it in the comments, and let's have this conversation. So my meltdown on social media last week about being uninvited has opened up the conversation of being vulnerable and authentic, using your voice to speak out on what's important to you. And I was shocked, happy, mixed of emotions of all the people who reached out to me, people I hadn't heard from in years who reached out to me to check in on me. And a lot of them shared that they feel the same way. They were happy that I spoke out. They appreciated the fact that I had the meltdown. And I shared how I was feeling at that particular time. And some of you even said that you feel like you don't have anybody to talk to, you don't have anybody to turn to, and that it helped you feel like there were other people out there that had that same feeling. And I felt that way before. That was part of the meltdown that I had. And if you aren't familiar with the meltdown, you can go to my personal page. I did make it public on purpose because that was my intuition. Pull over as I was driving and just do a video and share what was on my heart and mind at that particular time. Now, here's what I learned from that meltdown. And I want to look at some things from a higher perspective first. This consciousness as a collective is shifting from this 3D ego to fifth dimensional soul. And a lot of us are going through this shift, and we're in different stages depending on where we are along our journey, myself included, by the way. And this shift in collective consciousness, it's not going to stop. It just started. And I shouldn't say that. It just started for the masses. How's that sound? It just now started for the masses. So everyone is going to shift in a different way and using a different method. And it could be that your consciousness chose to do your personal work and to consciously shift that way. It could be that you get sick and you had an experience that helped you to shift into a higher consciousness. That's another way. It could also be that your consciousness chose to receive the injection, and that's what you will experience in whatever manner your body and soul chooses to happen. And it's going to help you shift into this higher consciousness. We're all, at the end of the day, spiritual feeling beings, having this human existence that we chose here on this earth plane. And that's what I keep going back to because I'm struggling right now. And I'm struggling because I know that I'm supposed to be and be like somewhere else and be doing something else with my business. It just is supposed to look really different. And the ego keeps wanting to just pull me back and say, nope, this is really comfortable. Over here is really comfortable and I don't want to change it. So I need for you to stay over here instead. And keep in mind, all of our souls have a different contract that we chose before we entered this lifetime. And I can actually see those contracts through numerology, through your date of birth and through your birth name. So we already know ahead of time before we planned our trip to Earth what this was going to look like for our journey. And for some of us, part of our journey is to just hold space and love and show others grace as they navigate their spiritual journey. Some of us are teachers that can help shift the collective consciousness. I feel like we each have some sort of, I don't want to call it a job, but there's some sort of reason for us to all be here at this specific time together. Now, in order for us to be that teacher, for example, and to help shift, we get to do the difficult work first on ourselves. And I just heard the other day that it's like, I think it was, she said 2016 through 2020, it was Elizabeth April, said like through those dates were when a lot of people went through their shift. And when I look back, yeah, that was a huge shift for me. Huge. I had already been on the spiritual journey since 2013. I had a really big shift 2016 through 2020, 2019. And there's no way that I could be doing what I'm doing now to help you if I hadn't gone through any of that. And I'm still going through it because we're all having this human existence, this experience here. I call it an earth suit that I'm walking in along this journey. So let's talk about how to navigate these conversations. And then I'm going to get into the 3 things that you can do right now. So, how to navigate these conversations. When I say these conversations, it's at the tip of everybody's tongue. Did you get it? Did you not get it? Which no one should be asking in the first place. That was part of my meltdown. Some people are asking or saying, well, I'm not going to be around you because you got it, or I'm not going to be around you because you didn't get it. That's these conversations. I even had someone to reach out to me and say, I don't know how to have these conversations. So I feel like there was a lot of reasons why I was supposed to have my public meltdown so that we could open up a way and have these conversations. And the important piece is just to be love. So many people reached out to me that I know we don't see eye to eye, we don't agree, and that's okay. The idea is that we show up in love for each other. And it really doesn't matter the choice that you made or the choice that I made. It's simply to just show up in love. And when we are in our loving energy, because we're energy beings, we're vulnerable and we're authentic. We're holding space for others. It's about the other person, not us. There's no judgment when we're holding space. There's no blame or shame. There's only unconditional love. And that is what I experienced on the other side. People that had called me, texted me, left messages. Someone didn't even have my phone number and they called through Facebook. And every message was from love. Every single one. Are you okay? And that right there, just put me to tears. It moved me to tears. And what I want you to know is that love, in my experience, moves mountains. It does. I have seen it before now, and I've witnessed it. And when God answers one prayer, God answers many prayers at one time. And remember, a lot of times it may not be the answer that we wanted or that we hoped for. It's either redirecting us, which is personally how I believe the uninvitations were. It's a redirection on multiple levels that I honor and have accepted. Or God's just got a better idea for us. So how can you show up in love and just be love and hold that space for that person? Because you have no idea what they're going through or what they're experiencing. And during these times of chaos, there's so much uncertainty, especially of those of you who identify as starseeds or light workers, light beings. Whatever it is, we're being asked and called, frankly pushed, to put into place what we already know. It's time to practice it. And this is just the beginning. That's part of what I said in my video. Like, I know it's just the beginning. That's partly why I know I'm tired. And this is for the long haul. And that's what I get to share with you tonight. The 3 steps to put into practice, into action right now that I'm going to do myself, and we can hold each other accountable. Because we're at the very beginning of all of this. It's truly living in love, truly living in that 5th dimensional consciousness, that 5th dimensional way of being, and not getting triggered. It happens. And how can you quickly shift out of it? Don't deny your feelings. I was allowed to feel my feelings and was able to shift. So what does that look like for you? The other thing I want you to consider is that we have the power within each one of us. We have the power to love. We have the power to protect our energy. We have the power to look at this from all different perspectives. And I know from experience, when I do that, because I do it quite frequently, it triggers people. So if you're the person who's getting triggered, ask, why am I getting triggered? And if you're having a difficult time looking at the different perspectives, how can you look at a different perspective? How can you say, oh, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Without allowing it to trigger you. The other thing I found interesting that came up is a lot of people think that they're coming from healthy boundaries. And for me, healthy boundaries come from love. And they think that they're coming from love. And at the end of the day, they're actually coming from fear. They think that they're protecting themselves. But that's why I go back to whatever you believe. So if you believe that you are protected no matter what, and you know and honor that divinity within you, then you are protected. And there is no reason for fear. And that's what I found a lot of people are coming from, and they don't even realize. Because again, this is a Trojan horse, and it's coming in as its protection and love, and it's really not. So 3 things that I learned that I can do right now that I'm sharing with you is take one day at a time. And it sounds so simple. And we have no idea what's on the other side. We don't know. This is our first time, potentially, through this as human beings. And, time doesn't exist, yet it does exist. It exists in this 3D realm on Earth, yet it doesn't exist. The war's already been won. So take one day at a time. The second one is to stay in the present moment. To truly be present instead of doing or attempting to do multiple things at once and multitasking. In order to be love and stand in that energy of love and hold space for somebody, that requires us to get present. And if that means your phone goes on do not disturb, put it on do not disturb. If that means that your phone goes on do not disturb in the evenings throughout the day when you're with people, whatever it's going to take for you to be present, be present. Honor whoever is in front of you, whether it's virtually or in person. And by the way, that's including yourself. So for me, this means I get to go inward more than I ever have, which means I get to be present with myself. And for those others of you who are in a similar position, you know how I feel. It can feel very uncomfortable. And you're just, confused, lost, aren't sure, Continue to stay in the present moment, because that's ego just trying to drag us back, is all it is. The third action you can take right now is to connect with yourself and God. And I say that all in one lump sum because God lives within each one of us. We are not disconnected from God. We never have been. And when we connect with ourselves, what I call our inner divine self, that is our connection to God. Divine source, universe, whatever you want to call it. Don't allow the label to turn you off from that connection, from that relationship. Have you developed that relationship? Maybe that's where you are right now along your journey. And I'm here to help. I'm here to help you along your journey. If you're working through old traumas and you want to heal them, we can do theta healing technique. I also offer coaching as well along your spiritual journey. We each get to hold space for each other. Everybody. No one has all the answers. And we are figuring it out as we go along. Because that's a part of our journey. So thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate you taking time. Be sure to tune in every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sending you all much love.